Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Englishmen podcast. Today, Tristan isn't here, so I'm doing the introduction. My name is Nicholas Biancolin. Next up, we've got
Ethan McMahon.
After him, we've got
Absalom De Vera.
And closing us off, we've got
Caleb De Silva.
Together, we are all grade 12 AP English students in Mr. Freitas' English class at Chaminade College School. And together, we'll be discussing pieces of literature we've studied in our class and just our general thoughts surrounding them, casual debates, whatever might be on our minds on that certain day. Today, we're talking about F. Scott Fitzgerald's classic novel, The Great Gatsby. So, fun novel, definitely loved reading it. Who wants to give us a quick summary? Ethan, you're the summary guy, right? Let's go. Give us your famous summary.
This is a full novel, but okay, I'll summarize it quickly. Let me think. Okay, so the entire book is written in the lens of the character Nick. And Nick is an old money guy. Basically what happens is he wants to sort of make his own life. So he moves, so there's two neighborhoods. There's West Egg and there's East Egg. In West Egg you have, guys, I can't remember who lives in West Egg. New Money?
Yeah.
Okay. So in West Egg you have Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, and that's where Nick moves in. He moves into a shack right beside Gatsby's house. And in East Egg, you have the old money people, who is Tom and Daisy. And basically what happens in the novel is, just a very, very quick summary, is Gatsby tries to get together with Daisy because of their past history. And so he just sort of uses Nick to meet up with Daisy, and then he spends lots of time with Daisy, and then tries to convince Daisy to tell Tom that she never loved him and to run away with, or to, be with him for the rest of their lives, basically. And that is really what happens in the novel. And there's lots more action stuff, but that's the general idea, is for Gatsby to get his girl. And Nick is just sort of watching and just around to help, sort of, and all this and that. And that's a very quick summary I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that raises the question, well, who is Daisy, right? And why does Gatsby like her so much? Well, I guess if we're going to answer that question, we kind of got to talk about the green light, right, guys?
Naturally, famous green light we all wrote an essay on. That was fun.
Yep. That was fun. That was fun.
Abs, you being serious?
I liked it. Well,
I enjoyed writing
but
my essay.
I liked it after. I liked it after, after we did the test.
When we weren't in time pressure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we weren't in time pressure anymore.
Except for Nicholas. Nicholas didn't write a body paragraph.
I failed that essay so hard.
Yeah.
Probably not going to make a boast about it on our podcast. What?
We didn't even get it back. You don't know that.
I missed a paragraph, and I'm not feeling great. I was sick the day I wrote it, and missed a paragraph. So
it's okay. He said that 4 body paragraphs wasn't a bad thing.
Maybe we'll see. We will see. Hopefully, I didn't write gibberish. I haven't even looked at my essay. It's right here. Hang on. Yep. Can our great desires ever be fulfilled? I don't want to read that. Okay, sorry. Let's get back on topic. I don't want to read that. All right. Let's talk about this famous green light. Now, to our viewers who may not have known what the green light is, basically, there's this green light. So I don't know if Ethan mentioned this, but the West Egg and East Egg on the map. Here, let me pull up a whiteboard to show you guys this, because
they're parallel to each other inside.
Yeah, right. So you have
on opposite ends of a bay.
Right, so this is gonna look really bad, but you have like East Egg, and then you have like the bay, and then you have West Egg. All right, so that's East, and then that's West. And now let's do it in green. This is Gatsby's house-ish. It's around here. It's a massive mansion, right? It's this big. He's super rich. He's got this massive mansion of a house. Let's put a big old G right there, right? And then on the other side in red, right over here is Daisy, and then her husband Tom's house. Let's put a D, right? And so on the end of this dock here, let's do it in red. She's got a nice big dock for like the boats, because this is all water, right? It's the bay. And at the end of this dock is a green light right there. Boop, green light. Now Gatsby, let's draw him in, I guess, blue. Gatsby stands at his window here all the time and just stares at that green light constantly, right? Because for him, that green light is a symbol of Daisy and how he's always there, right? And he's so close, right? they're literally living across the bay. He can almost look into her window. He can see this light blinking out on the sea. And so that's basically what this green light is. He keeps looking at this light throughout the play, right? And it shows us how really obsessed he is over getting Daisy, and how this dream of his is really almost taking over him. But that's the green light. Who wants to tell us, significance-wise, go more in depth about that?
So, and this is kind of what we wrote about on our essay is, what is the meaning, the symbolic importance of the green light? Now, when I wrote down what the green light is I wrote down and I kind of got into our religion class with this, but I wrote down it's eternal happiness is what it is, right? It's sort of heaven is what the green light represents, right? And I think that, Gatsby's whole purpose in this novel is to reach that green light, which is to, basically be with Daisy, right? And there comes a point in the novel where Nick talks to Gatsby about this, and Nick is, Gatsby is talking about, I just need to get back. I need to get back to the time before the war when I was with Daisy and everything was perfect. I need to get back to there and I need to repeat it. And Nick was like, well, hold on, you can't repeat the past, right? And Gatsby was like, no, you're totally wrong. I can definitely repeat the past. And that's where the problem comes, right? And so I think that Gatsby, throughout the entire novel, his goal is to reach that green light, right? To have the green light in his hand, which is Daisy. And when he achieves that, he's basically achieved his life's purpose, right? He's gotten everything he's ever wanted. He's probably going to be happy for all of eternity. That's why I think it's the eternal happiness. So that's what I think the green light means, and that's what I wrote about on my essay, and I gave lots of examples. And I just want to add this as well: is in our lives, you can't achieve eternal happiness. We're all going to suffer, as we saw with Gatsby. Before the war, he was all happy, and she had a good life with Daisy, right? Before, when they were together. But then the war came, and so he had to go off, and then he had to endure the whole horrors of the war, and then he eventually learned that Daisy married Tom, right? And so that really put a heart. And so you could see that already off the bat, he suffered a little bit, right? So I think that, while the green light is something fantastic that we all want to achieve, eternal happiness, I don't think it's possible. And that's what we see in the novel with what happens in the end. And that's what I wrote about in my essay on what the green light means. So that's what I think it means.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also on Gatsby trying to reach that green light, I think the reason why he went crazy towards the end was that he had a severe inability to accept what happened in the past. Like his inability to accept that Daisy moved on from him got him and really everyone else in a hole where it just was, everyone was just unhappy, right? Gatsby wasn't happy that he wasn't with Daisy. Daisy wasn't happy that she was put into this situation to choose between Gatsby and Tom. And Tom wasn't happy because Daisy was even thinking about it, right? So I think even though the green light is good in most cases, I think in this case it didn't help things at all. Not literally the green light. I mean Gatsby's dream.
You know what I feel? I feel like that green light is like a motivation type thing. So it's it motivated him to do all these things, right? To basically climb mountains. That's what I put in my essay. Climb mountains, swim through oceans, just to be to achieve his dream, right? And be with Daisy. So I guess that not only there are bad things about the green light, but there's also I'd say a good thing, motivation, right?
Yeah.
He had a purpose in life, and that was to be with Daisy, and that just pushed him to do all these things.
Yeah, he was just really centered on that one green light though. I put that in my essay. I talked about how I had a different idea. I talked about how I thought he wasn't a hero through his journey of reaching for the green light. And I tried to explain my point using some of his unheroic qualities. So I said he was very selfish, especially towards the end, where he just wanted Daisy to do whatever he wanted. Like Daisy wanted to run away, but he wanted to stay in his mansion and he wouldn't have it any other way. And he was putting all this pressure on her, only thinking about himself and what he wanted. Right? He never once asked Daisy if like she loved Tom. He was pretty much like, you love me, end of story. Right?
Mm.
I also said he was I said he was selfish. I said that he had an inability to accept certain situations. And if he would have just moved on from Daisy, he could have had like a happy life, right? He could have found another person
Yeah.
that was happy and lived with them in his castle. He could have socialized with more people at his party. I feel like he wasn't even there unless Daisy was there or someone who knew Daisy was there.
Like Nick.
Exactly. Like if like most of the people that were there didn't even know him. So I feel like he could have done a lot of things differently to make his life and others better. Right. And I also put that some of what he was doing was immoral. So like how he was making money or how we assume that he made money. Like he wasn't really thinking about other people. And going back to his selfishness, when they hit Myrtle and she died instantly, he said that like because yeah, it might have been clear, but he didn't know for sure, and he didn't stop. Like he could have easily like forced the car to stop, even though Daisy was driving. He could have like been like, stop, not going anywhere. And then after that, he was outside Daisy's house acting like nothing happened. Right? You didn't care about Myrtle. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you look at that whole scene and you're right. Like
so I don't think he's a hero because like that was one of the points. Like I don't think he's a hero because he killed like him and Daisy just killed someone and he showed no empathy at all.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in here. I don't want to cut Ethan off what you were talking, but that whole scene actually brings up the thing I wrote about on my essay that I dug up from the trash here. So interesting. I've said that it serves the green light serves as motivation, which I mean I argue that it kind of does, but it's a motivation in the fact that it can never be achieved. And so I wrote that the green light is taunting you because that's what I got from this green light, right? Because okay, we got 10 minutes left, but I'm gonna finish this. Right, that the green light is constantly taunting this guy, right? Like he's like it's just blinking, and it's of all things, it's a green light, right? Almost like the green light saying, "Go ahead, give this a try." Even though, like we all know this, we all have our green lights, our motivations, but they're unattainable, right? Like Gatsby getting Daisy, not gonna happen. Like he had Daisy, and he had Daisy, and he wasn't satisfied, right? Because there's the scene when they're like in the bed or whatever, they're in his house, right? And he looks at the green light, and he's like, "Huh, it's not as cool anymore." Right. So like it's this thing you want, but you can never actually have because think about it, once he had Daisy, did he really get the green light? Because you could see in the moment, he didn't feel like he had achieved it. Right. It was just kind of like, this is this. Right. So it's taunting you. It's a green light saying, go on, go ahead, give this a try. You know, you can do it. When in fact, you cannot do it. Like it is like the green light itself cannot be achieved. Right. And so it is a motivation. It's pushing you to work harder and harder and harder. But in Gatsby's case, again, agreeing with Caleb here, not a hero, a lunatic. He couldn't give up this green light drive, right? He was just driven. He's like, no, I won't accept it. Has to be this, right? Again, had Daisy. Daisy wanted to run away. He would have had Daisy, would have had his life, could have taken his money and gone. Nope, wanted to stay in his mansion, right? Wanted to stay with Daisy, but couldn't, he couldn't. I keep whacking my mic and I'm sorry. It probably sounds like pops galore, but he had it in front of him and he couldn't grab it because it can't be grabbed. It's a fever dream, right? All these dreams of winning the lottery, moving to a big house, whatever our green light dreams might be. They're all these fever dreams. They can never be achieved. That's what they are. They're dreams, right? And I guess F. Scott Fitzgerald being clever, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, being a green light, the taunting. I think it taunts you, right? Like it motivates you, but it also taunts you to the point where in Gatsby's case, he just becomes like obsessed with it and just loses his mind progressively, right? Loses his mind. That's a common theme, right? What's his name? Hamlet loses his mind. Vladimir and Estragon have already lost their minds. What's his name? Walter pretty much loses his mind over the course of the play. Seems like there's a lot of mind losing
I mean,
going on.
waiting for Godot made us lose our mind.
Made us lose our minds, exactly, right? Everyone's losing their minds in this course.
Yeah, that green light, it's kind of like a fantasy. Like
Exactly.
but when it gets dangerous is when you believe that you can that fantasy is easily achievable, or you can get there at some point, and you will get there at some point, right? But that's like, it's okay to have that green light there, as long as you understand that there's a possibility that you won't reach it.
It's like
Because
very
Then that will make you go crazy.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
want to give yourself false hope over something that's
Exactly.
never going to happen.
mhm.
You know, I argued that he was a hero.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know. Is it? Yeah, I said how like he do it like, because to me a hero is someone who'd like do anything like for someone, you know, like protect them or something. And that like whole like Myrtle scene, and then or like that Myrtle scenario where where he was willing to take the bullet for Daisy, right? And then like sacrifice himself. Like I thought that was very, very interesting and stuff like that. Like, you know, wouldn't you like take a bullet for like your loved one or something? So I was like, that was very interesting.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I would argue though that he was doing it more for himself and his dream than Daisy, because throughout the novel, I found that most of the stuff he was doing wasn't for her, it was for himself. Like he wanted to give her everything so that she would be with him, not to make her happy. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't to make her happy, because if he cared about her happiness, he would have asked her if he loved Tom or what she wanted. He would have asked her what she wanted, but he was only concerned about what he wanted. So that's what
I thought Gatsby was a hero because I wasn't so much tied up in like, you know, I'd say him getting Daisy or like his motivation for like love exclusively. I was more of just like, you know, the reason he's a hero is just because of the hope he represents. Like his whole life purpose, right from when he was a kid up to when, you know, he's trying to get Daisy, is to reach that green light, right? Which is, you know, that it's that motivation beacon that he wants. And so his entire life, he's basically been working really hard. Like when he was a kid, his first thing was sort of just to not be poor, right? It was sort of to make money and get rich and whatnot. And eventually he did that, right? And then once he met Daisy, then his motivation changed to being with Daisy, right? And all this. And so I thought that because when you're trying to like achieve something, you're trying to work towards something, you know, you need an example of what it's like, what that determination, that dedication, you know, all of that sort of passion is to drive you towards to reach the green light, or at least, you know, something close enough to the green light that will satisfy you, you know. And so I wrote that Gatsby's a hero because he represents that person who, like, you know, who works hard their whole life and who tries to achieve the best possible thing they can achieve, right? And don't get me wrong, like, you know, his obsession with Daisy, like over like a 10-year period to constantly be with her, even after, you know, they've been apart for 5 years, she's already gotten married, she has a kid, right? And all this and that. So that's very, you know, weird and obsessive. But like aside from all of that specific scenario, just sort of the hope he represents that eventually he will get that love, you know, that he will sort of achieve, you know, the happiness he's wanted all of his life. I think it's just a very nice type of hope, you know, and that's what it shows. That's what he chose. That's why I think he's a hero. Now we're going to talk about which we liked better, or we're just going to give a general comparison of the movie The Great Gatsby with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, so on, and the actual novel itself. Now, the movie was like pretty similar. It was very CGI'd, I'd say, because they needed to capture the 1920s pretty accurately. In terms of whether the movie was good or not, I thought it was pretty nice. But, you know, once you've read the novel and you know the exact plot, there isn't so much, you know, mystery or excitement to watch the movie. But either way, I thought it was a good job. Like, Leonardo DiCaprio did an amazing job as Gatsby. Like, definitely, for sure. He really captured sort of Gatsby's essence and obsession with, you know, going back into the past and being with Daisy, right? And that was really nice to see, you know, like, it done so well, and that's what I thought. In terms of which I liked better, like, I like reading, but, like, in terms of this book, I thought the book itself was, like, meh. And the movie just sort of captured the book, the story better, because this is a kind of story that's so like it's written in first person so well that is something that you need to like visually see, right? And so you can imagine the book in your head definitely, but like I think seeing it is a lot better. And so I think that just the visuals of the movie and just giving us the actual what kind of happened is why I think the movie's better. What do you think, Nicholas?
Well, book was definitely tricky to read. I know whenever I tried to read it was always slow going, except for like the chapters like 5 to 7, I think. Like the whole scene, like when Daisy and Gatsby are together and like they're driving around and Tom's kind of high on that. Like those chapters were definitely good to read, but it was a very slow start. Like when Mr. Freitas said he's just showing off, like you can tell he's pulling out all the stops, and it is a bit tricky to read. At least for me, maybe, but maybe you guys found it easy. But
oh yeah, I didn't understand chapter 8 at all. Like I had to read it. Like I had to read a summary of chapter 8 because it was so fancy dancing.
Yeah, the beginning and the end.
4, the one where he talks about his past with Cody.
Oh yeah, that one was also
going back and forth. I was really confused with that.
Yeah.
I had to reread like chapter.
Really helped with like the visual representations and the expressions.
Yeah, book was so again, book I found it a bit tricky to read up some places. Then again, I was on the subway a lot, so nothing good to do on the subway, right? Subway is just you're just riding, and they put windows.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. I'd read on the bus.
Okay, but like in the subway, they put windows. But where are you gonna look? It's a dark tunnel. There's like one bridge. There's 2 bridges on the subway. So windows, maybe not the best idea, but I digress. This is not about subways. This is about Gatsby. Gatsby. Book was a bit tricky to read. I really enjoyed watching the movie. Again, I agree with you, Ethan. DiCaprio really nailed that role. And like all of us, I really can't unsee Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. So picturing him like as not like a teenage kid and as like a serious like Yale graduate, it's a little bit tricky, right? But I think I played the role well. All the actors and actresses did a great job. The movie was pretty cool. One thing I really liked about the movie was how like they interpreted like jazz music, right? Because in the book there's lots of jazz music, but in the movie there's not. They used like rap music, which is kind of like new music. Because
rap R&B,
okay, because the idea then was that the idea back in the 1920s was that jazz was this new music, right? And so jazz is all about new money, new music, right? So then again, when this movie was made, rap is the new kind of music, it's new, up and coming, not up and coming per se, but like, you know what I mean, right? And so therefore, new music, that's what they use for those kind of party scenes. I thought that was really interesting because I picked up on that. But those are my thoughts. Did I like the movie better than the book? Admittedly, yes, because the book was a pain to read, but doesn't mean the book wasn't good.
Yeah, I think there's always pros and cons. Book definitely more descriptive and has a lot more parts, but the movie has those visuals that really guide you through what's going on, right? And it's easier to understand too, right? Because the vocabulary that Fitzgerald uses, like not everyone can read it, right? Or not everyone can read it like easily. Like it's pretty hard to read, at least for some parts. So, but if you do understand it, then I think the book is better because it's more descriptive and because there's more going on. You got more details. But for the parts that were confusing to read, the movie was definitely better. Just because it was easier to follow.
Yeah, same. I agree with Nick, and basically everyone. I don't know. Wait, Ethan, did you like the movie or the book better?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, same with me. I really enjoyed watching the movie because like it encapsulates like everything that the book said, but like has its twists, right? And it's like you're able to like see, right, as like what everyone said, like you're able to see like what's happening and like really get a feel and experience what life was like in the 1920s. Like unlike reading it, it's kind of like difficult to like envision, right, about the 1920s if you don't even know about it, right? If you never had like any idea what the 1920s is about, it's kind of difficult to really like visualize unless you see the movie or like you educate yourself about it. So, that's why I actually like the movie lot more than the reading. And also, I don't like reading a lot, so. So, but yeah, but this book was phenomenal. The movie was great as well. So yeah.
I like Daisy a lot in both the book and the novel. Both the book and the movie. In the book, like Daisy just had a very interesting, like her character was very mild, I thought, in the book, according to the way I read it. And then once you go to the movies, she has the same sort of mild vibe, and she's sort of always in like wonder and awe, and she seems very happy most of the time, right? Obviously, until that scene where Gatsby tries to make her go with him, right? Tell Tom that she never loved him, right? And one thing I thought was really done well by the actress in the movie who played Daisy was, so in the novel, you constantly hear Nick describe her voice as very like soothing and musical, you know, very like very up and down. It's very, you can get lost in her voice, right? You just sort of don't really listen to her and you just get lost in her voice. And I think the actress did a really good job at capturing that voice, you know, like her voice was very soothing to listen to. And so she really captured Daisy very well. And also, Caleb, your Gatsby assignment was on the new woman. So do you want to talk about like Daisy and Jordan and sort of what you thought about them in the movie?
Yeah, so basically in my assignment, my presentation, I described what the new woman was, and then I related it to Great Gatsby. So for example, like the clothes they wore in one of the scenes in the movie, Daisy and Jordan were both in all white, and there was these white curtains floating around, and I think that was very, maybe not symbolic, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Like,
yeah,
it like it just had the sense that everything was like clean and organized and all put, and them like as people are all put together, right? But I think that was just like a cover up. That's how I viewed it. And then I also talked about like how their clothes are more revealing than they were before the 1920s. I also talked about like general like stereotypical things that you hear about women in the past. So like they're the ones who clean the houses. Like there was in the same scene, actually, you could see two of like I don't know what they call them, like servants, and they're the one doing the work. Daisy and Jordan are sitting on the couch, not doing anything, and they're not doing anything to clean the house. So it's very different. And yes, they are rich, but if you go to the other side, like for example, Myrtle and George Wilson. George was doing all the work. You see him in the movie.
Yeah.
Like even in the book, like you can tell Myrtle doesn't do much, like in terms of work around the house. And in every single scene, George Wilson looks like he's working like a dog. He's all dirty. His clothes are ripped. Like his clothes are all worn out. Like, and then Myrtle comes down in this like dress that shows a lot of skin, especially on her chest and legs, and it looks like a new dress, while George is in like these well, they look super old because they're so dirty and worn out, right?
Fixing cars and stuff.
Exactly. So it's, and then obviously the parties, you see a lot, especially in the movie. I found that you could see more women than men in most of the films. Yeah. So I think they did that on purpose to show that in this age, more and more women were going to parties, socializing, right? Because they didn't really socialize with other people before then. It was always the men going out and they would stay home, right? So they went out to socialize, not just to party. And even drinking, smoking, doing drugs. Although they showed drinking, but they didn't really show smoking a whole lot in the movie or in the book. But yeah, it was this idea that there was a new woman. So there was a different way of living for women than what happened in the past and what they were accustomed to, right?
Are we all done? I mean, I
I think we're good.
covered everything.
I'm
The
all talked
effect
out,
of
honestly.
The new woman in the movie. Which one we like better? Right? We're all good.
I think so.
Yeah.
Hang on, you guys
So
like?
Nick, you want to do the conclusion now?
Hang on, your video is not loading. Something's wrong with my
it's
internet. It's super slow. I don't know what's up with that.
It's okay. You're good now. You're
Okay,
good.
you're back now. You're back.
Was I like frozen the whole time?
No, just
No,
for
just
like,
the last one. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, the internet's been really wonky. I don't know what's up. But all right. Everyone. Sorry. I guess everyone.
Uh-oh.
Thank you so much for watching our
lagging again.
podcast. What?
Yeah.
Did I freeze again? Do I keep freezing? This is
Yeah.
not good.
big time.
Okay,
Yeah,
someone else
Ethan,
do
Wait
Ethan,
like
someone else do
10
it.
seconds. And then we'll say-
Someone else do
Ethan,
the
you
outro
take
then.
the outro.
I should do it.
Yeah, you take the outro.
Okay. Okay. Well, Nicholas is gonna have to cut out up to this point, but okay. Well, I think that's it for today, all of our listeners. We've discussed a lot about the Great Gatsby. We've talked about the green light, its significance. We've talked about whether or not we think Gatsby is a hero himself. And we've said that we all like the movie better than the novel, though the novel is worth reading if you have the time and if you like, some good English, basically. That's it for today. Our next episode should be focused more around our media unit. So we might start talking about the effects of social media on like sort of society, and we'll sort of cover those kind of topics in regards to media. So thanks for listening and stay tuned for the next episode.